I wonder, has anyone else noticed how strange time started to feel? It genuinely seems like years are collapsing into months now, months into weeks, and weeks into days. Sometimes the whole day passes and you can barely feel like you were even inside that day. And honestly, I don't think it's a midlife crisis or just getting older type of argument anymore because lately, everywhere I look, people are talking about the same thing. You wake up already exhausted, not just your body, but your entire being. And before you even had a chance to open your eyes and taste the first sip of your morning coffee, you are already behind, late to your own life. I mean, how is it already end of May of 2026? Like, where did the time go? And I started noticing something else this past few years too. Sometimes I would grab my phone to check the time, and then for a split second, it would say something like, I don't know, 12:51, and then it would immediately jump to 1:16. It's like as if the time has just skipped forward right in front of me. And yes, that might be some software glitches or network signal errors, whatever it might be. But I never used to pay attention to things like that before, and I worked in tech. That's part of why this feels so strange to me because back then, my life was far more demanding than it is right now. When I moved to Hawaii a few years ago, I worked at two startups, juggling projects across US, Europe, Australia. So I was basically living across multiple different time zones simultaneously. Some days I was online from 4:30 a.m. until 9 at night. And I was also consulting and mentoring designers on the side. And still somehow I still managed to find time for yoga, hiking, attending church groups, even tennis a few times a week. The only thing that I neglected so badly was me. My body was sleep deprived and malnourished all the time. My soul was exhausted from constantly fighting against things that felt so deeply wrong to me. And my nervous system was just fried from the burnout that I just had to hit the hard stop and step away from tech to reconsider my life seriously and think about how I want to give and show up moving forward. There was hardly any presence in that life, but somehow time felt so much more structured back then. Technically, I have more freedom now because I'm not employed full time, but I don't have more time. Sometimes I sit down to answer a few messages or comments for what it feels like, I don't know, 20 minutes, and then suddenly 3 hours disappear. Or I go to yoga class in the morning and I take the walk back through the park and maybe stop at the grocery store on my way home, and half a day is gone and I have not even had breakfast yet. I don't know, sometimes it makes me genuinely wonder, how are we supposed to hold all of this? Careers, relationships, family responsibilities, if you have kids, creative pursuits, your well-being, your health, and maybe even saving the world on your lunch break. I think a lot of people are walking with this feeling of, I should have more time for life than this. It's like we're constantly trying to catch up to our own lives. And I personally don't recall feeling so intensely this way in times before the lockdown. It's just something about the way we experience life after 2020 feels altered. As if life started to move so much faster than our ability to actually live it. And honestly, I don't think there is one simple explanation for it. It's probably multiple things happening all at once. And part of this could be aging perception to some degree, yes. But also part of that is just how demanding our modern life has become. I think social media, internet, and technology have completely changed the structure of human attention. You can be eating dinner and answering your messages or scrolling at the same time, or you can be watching a video but thinking about your work or what you have to do. We consume enormous amount of unfiltered information every day that we don't really have time to process fully. So our attention is constantly split in multiple directions, and attention is closely tied to time perception because the less you are present in this current moment, the less your mind registers actually living it. So entire days just disappear. And I think we consume life now much more than we actually inhabit it. And social media amplifies this even further. You take your phone and open it for 5 minutes literally, and you have already absorbed global conflict, disease, productivity advice, some random people arguing, political outrage, AI content, trauma content, relationship discourse, all before breakfast. The nervous system was never designed for this level of input, especially if it's already highly sensitive. The best decisions I made for myself personally was selling my TV in 2021, disabling my notifications, and also staying off my phone 2 hours after waking up and before I go to bed. And then there is a collective layer of all of this too. A shift in consciousness that humanity is currently moving through. A major transition taking place on many different levels at the same time, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, technologically, and spiritually. There are even biblical references about days becoming shorter during periods of major transition and upheaval. But honestly, I don't think that fear helps anyone. But I genuinely think that many people have noticed that reality itself became so much harder to fully hold and understand after 2020, including our relationship with time. This changed for me even before that. I think I've had an unusual relationship with time for as long as I can remember myself. Every summer, my parents would send me to a summer camp when I was a kid. And I remember this one evening we had a disco party after dinner. This loud music blasting, flashing lights, kids running and screaming. I got so overwhelmed that I just quietly left without telling anyone to go for a walk in the forest alone. Nature always had this way of being able to calm me down, even back then. And I remember as I was walking, I started wondering how long I could possibly stay out there before any of the camp counselors noticed that I actually disappeared. And somehow my mind just drifted into thinking about time itself. I remember realizing how strange it was that something completely invisible governed everyone's lives. Everyone wanted to know constantly what time it was, how much time was left, when something would start or finish. And yet no one could actually touch the very thing that they were organizing their entire lives around. You can't hold it in your hands, right? And you cannot see it directly. So I started wondering how time could possibly even be moving right now if I had nothing to measure it against. And as I was thinking about that, I noticed a stone lying on the ground. And it really stood out because it was the only stone and it was the size of my palm. So I picked it up and I threw it through the forest, counting the seconds until it landed. And the second I released it, something hit me so deeply that I still remember it, even over a decade later. I realized that the exact moment I had just experienced will never happen again, not once. That the same stone will never move through the air in that exact trajectory. That the exact thoughts and feelings I had while throwing the stone will never repeat themselves. The force in my hand, even that version of me standing right there at that age, all of that had already disappeared, gone forever the second it happened. I remember this overwhelming feeling of awareness that time only moves in one direction and that every single moment will eventually become a before, and that every moment of my life will disappear the same way. And I remember wondering how many of these before moments will my life consist of? And I almost got my answer too soon, a few years later. The experience that permanently changed my relationship with time and life itself. I almost drowned in the Mediterranean Sea when I was young. I remember someone suggested we jump under the waves as a game, and I'd never done it before and it sounded fun. And it was fun until one wave came out of nowhere and it was so much bigger and stronger than other waves, and I just didn't have time to dive under it in time. And it pulled me underwater so violently that I lost all orientation. It kept tumbling me over it, dragging me across the seafloor more and more inward. And I remember I was trying to claw on the sand, just trying to hold on to something solid so I wouldn't be dragged farther inward into the sea. But with every attempt, I was realizing how powerless I was against that force. Eventually, I ran out of all the strength. I had no more oxygen left and no more energy to fight against it. And I remember that exact moment right before I lost consciousness, when I thought, that's it. And strangely enough, right after that thought, everything became so peaceful. The fear was gone. There was no more panic, no more desperately trying to control what was happening or mentally resisting the reality itself. I felt so deeply held by something vast and infinite in a way that I cannot fully explain. That was this kind of peace and love that surpassed anything I had ever experienced before. Eventually, I got rescued, which was a miracle. And this experience taught me something fundamental about life itself. How much suffering comes from trying to force reality into the shape that mind believes it should take. How much we cling to control, and how different life starts to feel when we finally surrender and trust. The moment we stop overpowering life itself and allow ourselves to be guided by something far greater and deeper than fear. When I came back, my sense of what was real changed irreversibly. After being that close to not being alive, life stopped feeling permanent and started to feel fragile, more like a brief moment than a lifetime, like a dream, not a real life. From that point forward, something in me started counting like an invisible timer. That constant awareness that time is finite, and that pressure that there are still things I needed to do here before it runs out, even if I didn't always know what those things were. And when I tried to explain this feeling to others to see if there is anyone out there who might understand or relate, many people genuinely just couldn't. On the contrary, people seem to move through life as if they have this endless time and endless tomorrows. They stayed in jobs, relationships, places that no longer felt right to them. They avoided what they felt deeply. They delayed conversation that they knew they needed to have. They postponed their lives indefinitely, believing that there will be more time later. And maybe there will be, in another reality, another life. And maybe some people find comfort in that. I don't. After that moment in the sea, I was reminded of something that made it impossible for me to experience life the same way again. And I promised I would finish what was started. And neurodivergence intensified this feeling for me even more, because lack of executive function completely changes your relationship with time and capacity. Some people seem to start the day with almost unlimited emotional and mental bandwidth to deal with life. To me, it feels like waking up with a limited number of energy credits available for the day, and every task or interaction costs something, whether it's emails, phone calls, taxes, meal preps, things around the house, a broken fridge to get fixed, or a weird charge to investigate. The list really never ends. I think it's so underestimated how much fragmentation modern life creates, especially if your nervous system already absorbs everything deeply. That's why it's important to be mindful what you give your time and energy to, because you can spend your entire day just reacting to micro emergencies, wasting your credits. And when it's finally the time to sit down and work on that very important thing that you knew you had to do, you've hit your limit for the day. The desire is still there, but your capacity isn't. And it is so frustrating. But if something truly matters, then credits become endless. That's the part of being neurodivergent that I genuinely love, because the level of depth, insight, creativity, and focus that it creates feels almost limitless. This flow state where time stops existing. That's why I think so many people misunderstand neurodivergence, because the suffering comes from being forced to pour your energy into things that feel so disconnected from meaning. And when that keeps happening, it starts feeling as if life is moving faster than your ability to leave it. It's like you feel that something is trying to take shape through you, but life keeps scattering your attention before your ability to reach it. You know, it's like trying to swim forward against the current while waves keep crashing into you one after another. And maybe the answer isn't to keep fighting against the current harder, but actually realizing that you might be moving against your true north this entire time. And I think many people sense this much earlier than they're ready to admit to themselves. And to change the direction means confronting how many years of your life, identity, and energy were already invested into that version of your life that no longer feels aligned. It's like realizing half through the flight that you might have actually boarded the wrong plane. So the question is whether you can admit it to yourself first before your entire life arrives somewhere that your soul never truly wanted to go. So it's not just that time feels short, but it's that the world constantly consumes your capacity before you can actually give it to something that truly matters. It's this feeling that your life energy is being spent somewhere that your soul no longer belongs, while time keeps moving forward anyways. Maybe that's really what this feeling is trying to show us. Not that we should panic or obsess over every passing second. Just realize that life is happening right now, and many of us are barely inside it while it unfolds, constantly replaying the past or worrying about some abstract distant future that might never come, always waiting for things to settle down, waiting for that perfect version of ourselves that we imagine will finally feel complete or healed, waiting for clarity, certainty for what comes next. And meanwhile, the present moment just quietly slips through your fingers. We spend so much of our lives mentally somewhere else, while present is the only place where life has ever existed. This breath you take, this light outside your window, these people you still need to call, and these conversations you still need to have. One day there will be this last ordinary moment, and probably we won't even recognize it while it's happening. A last conversation with that person, a last walk outside, and maybe all of that is not meant to scare us, but bring us back into our lives before they pass us by. Sometimes I wonder if this feeling that time is speeding up is life itself trying to wake us up to what truly matters. Maybe through more awareness, realizing how temporary all of this is while we're still inside it. Because one day, the entire version of your life will be gone too. The people that you love, that house where you live, the body that you have right now, the work that you do, even all of those problems and worries that feel so heavy right now, all of those are temporary too. And I think deep down, we already know that, even if we try not to think about it too much. I think becoming more conscious of time can really soften our hearts if we allow it to. Because when you become deeply aware that your time here is finite, you start wanting to be more present in your own life. You hug your kids a little tighter, you call your parents back, you become gentler with others because you start seeing how fragile and temporary that experience for them is as well. Everyone is just trying to figure life out, doing their best while also moving through time that they cannot hold on to either, carrying hope, grief, learning to love, making mistakes, letting go, searching for meaning, and maybe not always finding it, but still continuing through it all. And despite how painful being human can be, I think there is also something incredibly beautiful about it, about experiencing life at all, to love people and to lose people, to start over after life has knocked you down, maybe even repeatedly, to have your heart broken, or to stand in the ocean and suddenly feel so small and powerless in a way that is so strangely comforting, or look up at a night sky full of stars and feel your heart skip a beat or two, to laugh so hard that you forget yourself for a moment, to grieve all the versions of yourself that you can no longer return to, just to feel that full weight and beauty of being alive here, even knowing that none of that lasts forever. Time isn't going to wait for anyone, so if there is something you've been wanting to say, say it. If there is something you know you need to do or change, start now. Or if there is someone you love, let them feel it while they're still here to receive it, because life is not some distant future when you will finally figure everything out. It is a collection of present moments, almost like a tapestry. Here we get to see the backside with all the knots and loops and frayed ends, and one day, if we get to look back, we might actually realize that there was this beautiful picture being woven this entire time. A life made from small moments that became everything.